Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for choosing Across the Fence. I'm Will Michael. We begin a new week with a new edition of Money Monday. Our focus for today is organizing for 2019. Now, you've probably heard this before, but being organized is one of the key ways of staying on top of your financial information. And being organized not only helps with taxes, bills, and investments, but it also helps if any of your financial information is compromised, which seems to be happening more and more often. So as always, our Money Monday expert is Christine Moriarty. Christine is a certified financial planner from Bristol, and she's president of MoneyPiece, and we appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me. This is a delightful way to start off the new year.
Well, it is. We're a couple of weeks into the new year. People are paying holiday bills. They might be already thinking about getting their federal financial income tax stuff. So with all that going on, why get organized now?
Two reasons. Because if you start off on the right foot in the beginning of the year, it makes life so much easier. You don't have to go backtrack for things, okay? And it is still in the new year because we're all trying to figure out how to write 2019 instead of 2018. And the second most important reason that I think people need to understand, Will, is that there've been studies done. If you're organized around your money, you tend to have more money. How's that?
Good note to know.
Yes.
I'm going to come back to financial organization in a minute, but I told you before we got started I need to veer a little bit because of people look back at 18, even the beginning of 19, in terms of what's going on in the stock market. There's no absolutes here, but in general terms, can you share with folks what an investor should be doing?
You mean the roller coaster that's going on out there?
There it is right there. You got it.
There it is. It's volatile. The stock market is volatile. And we've forgotten that because it's only gone up the past few years. So it's really important while they're doing these loop-de-loops to be proactive, not reactive. So let me tell you some ways to do that. First, gather all your investment statements. Sometimes people go, I'm going to change this or sell this, but you need to know where you stand with everything, your IRAs, your work plans, your 403Bs, thrift savings accounts, whatever the work retirement plans are called, any brokerage accounts, and then see if you have pensions. There's still people out there with pensions. So once you gather all that, then you can tell how much is in the stock market and how much is not in the stock market. And then you make a decision based on percentages for who you are. So if you're closer to retirement or you're in retirement, you should be more conservative with your money. If you're young, then you can take more risk with your money. So the point is, we don't react to the stock market. We make a plan once a year and make a strategy and stick with it.
And these pieces you're talking about, conservative, being a little older, maybe a little more aggressive as we're younger, that can involve moving money. And you have some tips related to moving money, especially as this annual checkup is taking place.
First of all, a lot of people go, oh my gosh, my retirement plan, I got to do something. And they want to move it all to cash. So that's drastic. But no matter what you move, if it's in a retirement plan, make sure it stays in a retirement plan. You can still have cash in a retirement plan. So as it shows on the screen, move money within your retirement account. Sometimes people get so carried away they want to take it out of retirement and put it in the bank, but that is a taxable event because they took money out of a retirement plan. Every retirement plan has a cash, a money market, or some kind of stable funds that's more secure. Bonds are the more conservative step than stocks. So as you get closer to retirement, you want more in bonds, okay? And there's an old rule of thumb that we tweak. 110 minus your age is the percentage we should have in the stock market. We've referred to that before in this show. But the idea is it's not all or nothing. We want some cash, we want some bonds, no matter who we are. Stocks are volatile, but they may be appropriate if you're younger and you need them if you're going to live till 90. And you're my age, because 90 is a long time from now.
We've talked before, and it's been on the program before, that idea that, yeah, you can be literally much more aggressive when you're younger. The people who are probably most concerned right now in terms of seeing the stock market of the past year are folks that are getting closer to that retirement age or maybe in it. And so as I narrow down a little bit, what's the word or what is the advice that goes with folks who should be a little more conservative?
Well, they should have been doing it already every year. And had they done that, which, the past we can't talk about, I know, but do it every year, tweak it to make it more conservative. So meaning, if stocks do well one year, take some from the stocks and put it in bonds. Yeah. So as you get closer, you're moving more towards that 50-50 of stocks and bonds. And any good qualified investment professional can help you with what you need exactly, because it isn't even if you're 5 years from retirement, you should be doing this. Because if you're 5 years from retirement and have a pension, that's one plan. If you're 5 years from retirement and don't have a pension, that's another plan. So really take the time, if you need to talk to someone, pay someone to.
And I just have to say, that's what this series of Money Mondays is all about, is having a plan and you coming in and providing information. And our director, Adam Wright, had an important slide that he put up about, what do I do if I'm unsure? What if after some of these conversations we still have questions?
Yeah, qualified professional. And qualified, we talked about on a previous show, which I know people can still view, is that they're certified financial planner, that they have your interests in mind, that they're fiduciary. These are things that are really important. It's worth paying for that advice because this is your future long term. Right. And many of us don't expect to live another 30, 40, 50 years. Yep. So have a good plan. You don't go and build a house without a plan. But yet people think they can build their retirement without one.
And you've also said before that, my nice sister-in-law, brother-in-law, all of my nice relatives who have advice, go get the qualified professional.
Right. Usually what we hear from people is, oh, I'm in Apple, or we always hear the good news from people about what they did successfully. And sometimes people are relying on experts that really have no training. Mm-hmm. They're just the person next to them in the cubicle.
Well, my next question relates to people, and it's something that, as I ask, what else do we need to do to be prepared for 2019?
So really, that's a piece of it, is making an investment plan, but let's talk about the overall picture for 2019. Get organized. Is there family and friends' phone numbers? Do you have them in your wallet or your iPhone or at home on a list on the fridge if someone ever needed to contact family and friends because you weren't able to do it yourself? The other thing is, your family and whoever's in charge or would you want helping you would also want to know about your professionals, your doctors, your lawyers, your accountants. They don't want to be flipping through your phone, flipping through your address book, who's their appointment, where's their calendar. And unfortunately, things happen and we need this information right away.
So, assuming that I've done what you've suggested and I've pulled that information together, what else do I need to do? What else should I do?
Well, the other thing you want to do, and we just talked about an investment, is pull your statements together. So your bank statements, your retirement statements, your pension statements, and organize them in a way that makes sense. So many people are online these days. I always recommend that once a year you print those out so they're easily accessible to someone else, and they're easily accessible, as you pointed out, if there's a ID theft, that you can find it without going online.
And maybe one of the difficult parts of that is sometimes we need to acknowledge our own mortality. Think about what would happen if you're not around. Where do I go find that information? So not only when you talk about getting organized, you're talking about organizing for myself, but you're talking about organizing as a legacy or whatever I'm passing on.
As a favor to someone else. And it could be mortality, it could be you're injured and you're up at UVM Medical Center. And
so having a place where all this information exists, statements to health insurance and all of that, where someone you trust and have appointed can help take care of all that.
Right, and you don't have to give them all this information right now, but you can let them know where it is, which is extremely helpful. No.
Now, all of this suggests creating some kind of system. We talked before the program got started, and you even said, okay, I brought in some props, and one of them was
the shoebox.
The proverbial shoebox.
There is nothing wrong with putting all the information in a shoebox. Putting it in your closet, heading out, it doesn't matter as long as the information is somewhere. There's no wrong way of doing this. Just be consistent.
Okay.
as you go.
A shoebox, yeah, sure.
Sure,
I've
that
done
could
it
work.
before. You've probably done it, but they're in, everything from manila folders or
And
color-coded
here's
folders.
I love, color-coded, I don't know if I get that far, but it just makes it more fun. If you're going to do a job on a dreary winter day, put it in colorful file folders and put pensions, the retirement account, the bank statements, your will, whatever else is there. So this system is all about keeping records and ongoing. And there's no right or wrong way to do it. Again, I want to do it in a way that works for me. Here's one that I have used that I like probably because it's green and you can have labels on it, So label your bills, for example. What are the bills that you need to pay on a monthly basis? Because if you're not around paying them or they're coming out of your checkbook, someone needs to know that they're automatically. So green is big color for me.
And a reminder through all of this is there isn't a cookie cutter. Somebody might like the shoebox. Somebody else might like the color-coded folders.
I tell you that years ago, my dad ran a business. He was a great businessman. He got sick, and I knew how to do his business when I was 14. When I was 24, I walked in and could run the whole business because it was the same way 10 years later. So it's just being consistent, because if you're consistent, then you don't have to keep thinking about how am I going to do this? How am I going to do this? I immediately grab my mail and take my financial statements and throw them on the top of my file system. So I know where they are when I take a moment to file
So even if you're not doing it right at the moment,
just have a place
you're
for
going to
it.
be able to open it a week later and, for instance, put it in a 3-ring binder.
Right. So here's a 3-ring binder, pretty easy by subject, and you could just toss it on top of the 3-ring binder. None of this takes long. Initially, just getting it set up, just find something that attracts you to it and make it easier on yourself. And don't change because, like my brother kept telling my dad, let's computerize all your business records. I'm like, the man doesn't use a calculator, let alone he's not going to computerize. Keep it simple. And
I don't want to get too far into that, but when you're starting to talk about computerization and access, it does mean if, again, that situation where I'm incapacitated now, people need passwords and things like that. So you're not suggesting don't put it online, but there is nothing that beats when it comes to finances and being organized, a hard copy system.
That's safely stored in your house. There are thumb drives. That's the one thing I did forget to bring was a thumb drive. And as long as anyone can get into that who would need to. So you could have one passcode just for that with all your information, but they have to know where the passcode is. So remember that. So the final thing is a mobile file drawer. Why? Because while I'm watching the Patriots, I could be organizing the system. You can multitask.
Yep. So, and you can get carried away. And I don't mean it carried away. This is plastic. If you wanted, you can get them so that they're fireproof.
Yeah, absolutely. Be careful with the fireproof ones, because you might also want to copy somewhere else, because the fireproof ones only last a certain amount of time. So make it one that you can grab if you need to.
Great.
So
well, we have. I'm being told we have a couple of minutes left. I think it might be helpful if there's a bit of a recap, and I know that we have a slide that will help with that.
So the whole thing about this is, whether we're talking investments or a filing system, be proactive, not reactive. Don't be panicked when you get a statement and don't know what it means, but you already have things in a system and a financial strategy for investments. Number 2, organize for yourself and others. Yes, you're doing it so that you'll have more money, but you're really doing it for whoever you're leaving behind, or if you're injured. So you can be taken care of by others. Create a system, a file system that works for you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. Don't change it. Consistency matters. So you will have a fine financially 2019 financial year if you take some steps to improve it. These are small steps for most people, but print it off. I do know people who haven't looked at their statements because they're online. Never look at them. So make a moment to print them off, put them in a file.
And put them in a file system that, again, I kept coming back to it because if one of the things I'm taking away is a system that works for me.
Yeah.
It's not your system. It might not be your spouse's system, but it's something that works for me.
Right, but I'm glad you brought up the spouse, because your spouse does need to know where your stuff is, and vice versa. So a lot of couples actually have a financial command center where you could put your stuff in, your spouse could put their stuff in.
Yep.
It could be arranged differently, but at least someone knows where all the information is.
Well, with that, I do need to stop us there. Remind our viewers that if you have questions or comments for Christine, you can check her website by going to moneypeace.com. You can reach her by phone at the number on your screen. It's 453-5913, 453-5913. Christine, always a pleasure to see you, and we will see you back here next month.
Looking forward to it.
That is our program for today. We know you have choices, so thanks for choosing us. I'm Will Michael, inviting you to join us back here each weekday afternoon for another visit Across the Fence.